Welcome to the USL Championship in 10 for Match Week 1. New feature here at the SDH Networks. I'm Jason Longshore. We'll be bringing you the 10 things you need to know from each week of action in the USL Championship and USL League One when it kicks off later in March. Let's get to the action from around the second division from week 1. The number one item on the list is the attendance. 91,425. That's how many fans attended matches during the opening weekend of league action. It's a new record for the league. The largest crowd was in Albuquerque, 12,896 on hand to watch New Mexico United debut in the league. 1-1 draw with Fresno FC. The big moment was Devin Sandoval opening the scoring. He was the first signing for New Mexico United, hometown player, veteran player who gets to play professionally, at home, in his hometown, in his home state. Spent last season with ATL UTD2, just a consummate professional, was a player that a lot of the academy guys here in Atlanta looked up to and learned a lot from, and he will be that leader that New Mexico United needs in their first season. Very fitting for him to get that first goal. Great moment for him. Number 2 on the list. All the new clubs that hosted matches in the opening weekend had sold-out crowds. Talked about New Mexico. El Paso Locomotive and Memphis 901 had sold-out crowds on Saturday night, 8,000 plus for each. Birmingham Legion had a standing room only crowd at BBVA Compass Field on Sunday. Wasn't a great scoreline for them, 2-0 loss to Bethlehem Steel, but all of these clubs getting started hot at the gate is a big thing going forward. Now they have to sustain it. You want the quality on the field to match what you're seeing in the stands, but great work from all of these new clubs to get out in the community, get people excited, and get them into the building for week 1. Number 3, thought it might have been Louisville City, the defending back-to-back champs, but it's not. It's North Carolina FC, because Dave Sarachan, in his debut, had a 4-1 win against Louisville City. Former U.S. men's national team manager, Sarachan, got his start and carry off to a big success. He had 4 new starters in the lineup. Tommy McCabe was the one that stood out, named to the USL Team of the Week. He's a loanee from FC Cincinnati, second-round pick in this year's MLS Super Draft. Had a goal, had a big performance, helped lead North Carolina to this big win. We'll see how Louisville City bounces back. I'll have a chance to see it firsthand on Friday night at Fifth Third Bank Stadium in Kennesaw as they come to face ATL UTD2. Number 4 on the list, New York Red Bulls 2. Usually one of the powerhouses in the USL Championship. They looked it in their first match of the season, a 3-1 win over Swope Park Rangers. Scoreline might be even a little flattering to Swope Park. 2 goals from Tom Barlow was the big story. Marcus Epps had the other one for New York. Both were named to the USL Team of the Week. The Baby Bulls took 23 shots in the match. Swope Park had 8. 15 of the 23 were on target, which is incredibly efficient. Swope Park, their one goal was their only shot on target. Number 5 on the list, Shane Malcolm. The 27-year-old Guam international had the first hat trick of the season for the Colorado Springs Switchbacks. He's also named the USL Championship Player of the Week. 4-1 win for Colorado Springs over LA Galaxy 2, led by Malcolm. He's entering his 3rd year in Colorado Springs, and he's already halfway to matching his 2018 goal-scoring tally. We'll see how many Malcolm ends up with on the year. Number 6, Deshaun Brown of Oklahoma City Energy FC. The Jamaican forward had the fastest goal of the opening weekend. Took him 22 seconds in El Paso to put a damper on El Paso's debut. 3-1 win for Oklahoma City. Brown added a second. Derek Gebhardt equalized for El Paso. That's Locomotive's first ever goal. But Brown restored the lead, and then Cordell Cato, the longtime Trinidad and Tobago international, sealed it with a goal in the final 10 minutes to lead the Greens to their season-opening win. Number 7, the goalkeeper on the USL Championship Team of the Week, Brendan Moore of ATL UTD2. Hometown guy, signed with Atlanta United after spending time in England, most recently with Rockdale. Had a clean sheet in the opening match of the season against Hartford Athletic. 6 saves on it, too. It was not necessarily an easy clean sheet for Moore. He had an interesting back line in front of him Man of the match in the stadium was George Campbell, who was making his USL debut out of Atlanta United's academy. Tyler Ruthven, who's played in USL, who's played in MLS, who's played overseas, another hometown guy from Alpharetta, Georgia. Ruthven led the line, and Florentine Pogba made his debut in an Atlanta United shirt. The famous last name of Florentine Pogba. He spent time in France and Turkey, and he's a Guinea international. Hadn't played in a competitive match, since last May, and couldn't see it out, but looked very good early on in that match. ATL UTD2, we'll learn a lot more about where they are in their second year in the USL Championship as they host Louisville City Friday night. Number 8 on the list, Nashville SC. Big performance from them, 2-0 win over Loudoun United, DC United's new USL affiliate. The big names that were brought into Nashville this season, Cameron Lancaster and Daniel Rio scored the goals. 2 guys on MLS contracts. Lancaster, you'll remember, led the league in scoring in Louisville last year. He opened the scoring in the 58th minute. Rios, who was on loan in North Carolina last year from Chivas de Guadalajara, he scored in the 61st minute. It was a big week for Nashville SC as they start to look ahead to 2020 and their move into Major League Soccer. Gary Smith, who is currently managing the USL Championship side, will be the guy who leads them into Major League Soccer next year. Big week in the Music City for Nashville SC. Let's move on to number 9, and it was the Teenagers who led the way for the Tacoma Defiance. They are the USL Championship affiliate of the Seattle Sounders. You might remember them as Seattle Sounders too. They've moved over to Tacoma, created a new identity for themselves. One thing that has not changed is giving young players an opportunity. 15-year-old Danny Leyva made his debut, one of the youngest players ever in USL history. But it was 17-year-old Alec Diaz who scored the goal in the 1-0 win over Rio Grande Valley. Chris Little, the manager of the Defiance, said this about Diaz. He's got this poacher's instinct in front of goal. It was a rebound, and next thing you know, he's tucking it into the goal. That's a big quality to have for a striker. It's a really big quality to have for a 17-year-old striker. That's something that usually comes with experience. Diaz turned some heads as he saw action in USL last year with Sounders 2. He's going to be a key part for the Defiance. We'll talk about the Teenagers a lot this season in the USL Championship in 10, but our number 10 is to give some props to the veterans and players who are coming into USL Championship, I think, in bigger and bigger numbers. Today, Tuesday, March 12th, Orange County SC announced the signing of former Houston Dynamo and LA Galaxy center back Leonardo. 9 years of MLS experience. He has MLS Cups to his name. He will be a key part of Orange County's backline. You need these types of players to play alongside the teenagers who are getting experience in the USL Championship. These veterans are very important, and it's great to see so many now have a place to continue their careers. We talked about Sandoval going home to New Mexico. We talked about Tyler Ruthven here with ATL UTD2. It's a big part of the league's growth, and it adds so much color to this league. It's a very important part going forward. You have to give the young players opportunities to play, but they have to learn how to be professionals from guys who have been around the block. And now that the league is growing, and now that you're seeing these sold-out crowds and huge attendances, teams are able to bring in veterans to extend their career, maybe a year, maybe 2, maybe 3 more years than they would have played in previous decades in American soccer. It's a great thing to see, and it's a big part of the USL Championship's growth. Not really much to look at in terms of the standings. North Carolina FC, New York Red Bulls 2, ATL UTD 2, Bethlehem Steel, Nashville SC, St. Louis FC, and the Tampa Bay Rowdies all had wins in the Eastern Conference. Charleston Battery and the Ottawa Fury were level. That's your top 9. Charlotte Independence and the Pittsburgh Riverhounds did not play in the opening weekend. Out west, your winners were Colorado Springs, Oklahoma City Energy, and the Tacoma Defiance. Lots of draws in the Western Conference. We'll see how the playoff table shakes out as we go. But thanks for listening to Week 1 of the USL Championship in 10. We'll be back next week and keep you up to date on the 10 things you need to know each week in the USL Championship.